Hi, if you're watching this movie, my name's Robert Kidd, and I'm in Manchester, Tennessee, and it's August 10th, 2010. This is a map of the Manchester area. Right now I'm located over here where it says hotel. I'm at a Holiday Inn Express. This is what it looks like. I pan around. Of trees. So I'm kind of at the south end of town. I'm going to do a tour a little bit through town. I want to stop at the library, look at some books, and they are specific to our genealogy and the Kidd family line. But I will get on Highway 41 and go into town. And I believe the library's in this area. I'm also going to go up Highway 55 onto Ragsdale Road, stop at the Ragsdale Cemetery, and I'll take some footage of the cemetery area. I also want to go further out. There's another cemetery that is called Cunningham and Richard, but that's where Doak is buried, and I'm hopefully going to get GPS coordinates on it. That was contained in the book in the library. And I also wanted to run down to, this is a Coffee County map here. There's a place called Hickerson Station, and there's a possibility that I'll have to look her name up. Lonis slips in my mind right now. Anyway, she may have donated some property for a church down there, and I'll drive by that, let you see what that looks like. So, Main Street, Manchester, State Highway 41, and moving east or northbound, I guess would be the correct term. Just give you an idea of what the city's like. A lot of small communities outlying, spread out. Appears to be a lot of agriculture, farming. Arnold Engineering Development Center is here, located at Arnold Air Force Base, and Manchester and Tullahoma are the main towns by it. I was here about 20 years ago, and I talked to a lady named Annie Moss Usselton. She was pretty old. She remembered talking to Uncle Jack and Uncle Earl when they came out for a genealogy trip. And she told me about the graveyard where Doak is buried. And I don't think that was very well known. And since then, I stopped in there already, but someone has gone in and trimmed it and put some PVC markers in to mark graves. That stuff didn't used to be there when I was there before, when I stumbled onto it. But this is all, I found, this is the Manchester Library we're about to pull into. Yeah, Coffee County, Manchester Public Library. And there's a couple of books in here that have the cemetery information on them. So we'll stop here for a sec. These two books are Cemetery and Tombstone Inscriptions in Coffee County, Tennessee. Recently published, 2006. If we go in here, these are all the cemeteries in Coffee County and their locations. It's quite a listing, 2 volumes. And they have maps of the different cemeteries, what area they're in. And I did some photocopies the other day. I need to copy the Ragsdale entry for Leroy Kidd. This map 4, shows the Ragsdale area. There's the Ragsdale Cemetery that I'll stop at. The New Hope Baptist Church Cemetery I'll stop at because the Morrows are buried there. My side, I believe that's in my side of the family, on my mother's side. But the one that I wanted to go to is this Cunningham Richard, which is located up here. It's in the middle of some fields. She has instructions on how to get to it, and so I'm going to try that direction, which I haven't done before. Hoping to get GPS coordinates on it too for the different places. Information in this. There's a note here at the front. At the bottom it says Winters at mycoffeecounty.com. If you go to mycoffeecounty.com, there's a web page that and there's a history genealogy section that you can look at. Click on it and it has the index out of this book, so you can look up names. You can also buy copies of the book from www.lulu.com, and they're about $45 a piece for each volume. This is the index. Have a Kid. J.E. is Doak. Lee and not sure who. Yeah, I was thinking that was Leroy Anderson, but that might be Leroy. Anyway, these two are in Ragsdale. And interestingly enough, look up 545. See who that is. And New Hope Baptist Church. There's Eva Kidd buried in it. One of the other books had her listed in the Ragsdale Cemetery, but in fact she's in the New Hope Baptist Church Cemetery. Anyway, I'm going to make some copies and then we'll be on the way. This is the Coffee County Genealogy section of the library. We have family files here, and in it under Kidd there's a letter from Laurie requesting some information. They had periodicals there, and a small town library with a pretty good selection of things. There's quite a bit in the genealogy section here. We have microfilm readers, photocopier, and bunch of records. Okay, I'm turning from 41 on to 55. It's a state road. East on State 55. Yesterday I think I exited off the freeway 24 and it dumped out here. And this is the interchange with 24. It's a boring home movie for a car ride. When I looked in Google Earth, the imagery that was there currently must have been taken in the fall, late fall, because everything was brown and dead and dying. Let's see, I'm a little bit early here. I want to take this road right here. This is Ragsdale Road. So we're going to go along here for a little ways. I'm probably going to shut this off, save the film for a minute. This is a little further down Ragsdale Road, just to give you an idea what it looks like. This is further down the road. Coming up on our left is Taylor Road. When I was here before, I went up that road and stopped and talked to somebody at a house asking questions. And turns out they were Taylors and they figured we were related way back when. And just about everybody I stopped and talked to figures we're related somehow, somewhere. And anyway, they took me back along that road and showed me a small cemetery that was back in a ways. Had some marked graves, but I don't remember seeing any inscriptions. The book that we looked at, or that I looked at the library, actually pointed that one out and had, I think, one listing for someone that was buried there as a Taylor. But we're coming up here soon on the Ragsdale Cemetery. They just resurfaced this road. In fact, the left side of it wasn't surfaced Monday when I got here, yesterday. Here's the Ragsdale Cemetery. Now I'm going to pull in and drive around and get to about where I think the graves are for the kids. Lots of the cemeteries say access restricted to daylight hours. When I was here 20 years ago, I wandered this whole cemetery and managed to find Leroy Anderson's marker, or Leroy Anderson Kid's marker, lead kid. And I think I took some pictures, and it's either this gravestone or possibly this one that I had them marked with a little flag. So that would put it at about this site. That's his father and mother. Could possibly be these. But I thought there was a flat stone similar to that. or it could possibly be these over here. I don't know exactly, and the stones appear to have been just replaced by these little concrete units to mark kind of a generic marker. But the stones around here decay away very rapidly. I guess not real rapidly, but you can look around and see the older stones. They get covered in lichen and they break up, fall apart. Pretty soon there's not much there and you can't read them. So the angle from the photograph, the angle through the arches there and off the house on the other side, has got to put me in this area right here. But like I say, there appear to be just generic stones at this point, and so I can't give you the exact location. I don't recall this tree being here, but 20 years could be all the difference. And that one's got a little bit on it, but well, the GPS coordinates for this cemetery and about this area. We come out here. That looks like the angle on the house, but that cemetery stone, there was a stone in there in the photograph, which it's got to be right in this spot, close. So the GPS coordinates right here. I'll make it pretty close. That's what it looks like around here. I had the kid homestead when I was here 20 years ago, but I don't remember where it was. I was thinking it was up New Hope Road. Drove up there. When I was here before, I stopped and talked to the people that lived there. And the fruits, cold cellar was, the root cellar was still there. And I talked to him about it a little bit, but I can't find that now. And I'm not sure I'm even looking up the right road. So I'm going to take off back out on the road and head down to the New Hope Baptist Church next. This is the New Bushy Branch Road, and I stopped and talked to a gentleman. He told me his sister or his aunt lives down there and I could maybe stop and talk to her. That road sticks out in my mind for some reason. I don't know if that was where it was. It seems to me it was on the east side of the road, but I can't remember exactly where it was. So if we cruise on down the road just a little bit, there's the New Hope Baptist Church. I think it's just the other side of these trees. Yep. This is New Hope Road, running in on the left. And looks like we may have a service going on right now. This field of corn that's right behind the cemetery was all trees when I was here before. You can see the trees behind there. I suspect somebody got ambitious in clearing them out. There's a broken stone. I'm not sure who this is. Hard time reading it. This is Henry G. Morrow. David F. Morrow and wife Carolyn. George Washington Morrow. I think that's George Washington Morrow. Martha M. Daughter of Betty Morrow. Yeah. Nora Bell, daughter of A.J. Morrow. This is a Morrow as well. This is A.J. Morrow. Other than that, I don't know, they did a lot of work on those two books to find information that was lost. Lots of the headstones didn't have stuff. The article on the web that talks about the book and the process they used to get to it for publishing was pretty interesting. Apparently a lot of people spent a lot of time toothbrushing old gravestones so they can find the information on it. Okay, so that concludes the Ragsdale area. Okay, I'm on Ragsdale Road going further. I thought I would try to find Annie Moss's place, Annie Moss Hustleton, when I talked to her. There's a small home similar to this. I don't know if it was that home. But I talked to her a little bit. She told me that Gum Swamp, that this road actually runs through Gum Swamp. If you look in the books, if you haven't heard any of the ghost stories, I think there's a couple of ghost tales in the books, in the family book. And this right here may be what people term Gum Swamp. It seems to go both directions quite a ways. And there's another patch up ahead that's a little bit thick as well. Could be that one. But if you look, yeah, I'll get you motion in a sec. And these folks may have just carved the place out. If you look behind it, the trees are really thick. I'm coming up on the area where this other cemetery is. The other day, Monday, yesterday, I stopped here. In fact, I pulled in right there and hiked up to the trees. I'm going to run down to the Mount Carmel Church, which is just up the road here. Once again, it's almost so dark, not so dark, but it's getting dark to the point that it's going to affect the photography of all this. This is the Mount Carmel United Methodist Church. cemetery right here. But in the background you can see the big batch of trees off in the distance, and that's where I'm headed. So I'll turn you on here a little bit. I'm on Rock Road, about 3.6 miles in from Highway 55. This is Barbara Spears Road and Rock Road, the intersection. And across the street, if you look way off in the distance at the trees, that white gate in the corner should get us just about to the cemetery that I'm talking about. We'll go down the road just a little bit further, and there's a sign that says Richard Cunningham Cemetery. Right behind that it says Science Hall Lane. Not sure what that means, but I'm going to park the car and walk down in there. Interesting assortment of locks on the chain here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 locks. So that's where I'm headed. Okay, this is the approach. I made it through the fields. The gate to the cemetery. Like I say, somebody's been in here and cleaned it up significantly since I was here. Cunningham's, all these steel markers, the little crosses, were not here before. I had no idea there were that many people back here. And Stokes, or J.E. Kidd, is back over here. Thought this was interesting. I think this is a Banks. John Banks, 34th Tennessee Infantry. You notice there's a little Union Jack stuck in the ground there. Thought that was quite interesting. Also of interest is this is Doak's grave, J.E. Kidd, and his tombstone is actually in pretty good shape. 118 years old. This is his wife's. And then I believe her parents over here. And they're right up against the edge, southeast corner of the cemetery. And I've lost my GPS coordinates because I'm in under the trees. So Here's some. Just as an aside, when I came 20 years ago, Annie Usselton told me about this cemetery, and I went into the trees over that way and went all around, all over through there, looking and looking and looking. Didn't find anything, and I came up this way, and I was just on my way out, and I stumbled onto these gravestones, and it was darker than it is right now when I got here. It's about 7:30 in the evening. You can see the sun's kind of dropped. There's a hazy overcast. It's hotter than all get out. Today it was, he said it was going to be up around 100. And with the heat index, it was supposed to be around 110 to 115. The humidity just is incredible, and they're having this heat wave go through here. But it's muggy hot. Anyway, I'm out of here now. So that's the Richard Cunningham Cemetery with Dope Kid in it. As I'm getting ready to leave this cemetery, there was one last thing I wanted to explain or inject. One, I talked to Annie Usselton. She told me that the gentleman that owned this property way back when had turned cows in to graze in this area. People had told him not to do it, and he did it anyway. And then he got cancer, and she said he died a terrible death, and everybody said it was because he'd turned the cows in here on the cemetery. Just a little tidbit from Tennessee. Okay, I am on Highway 55, just barely past the City of Tullahoma sign. So I'm inbound into Tullahoma from Manchester, and up here on the right hand side, not too far ahead of us, is the Concord Baptist Church. And I'm not positive. Mom mentioned that Rebecca Adeline Lonis had donated some property or needed some property to the Separatist Baptist Church. And when I was in the library looking at the family files, the Taylor file, this is Concord Road. The Taylor file had mention of some Taylors that were the ministers at the Concord Separate Baptist Church, and talked about it being down in a place called Hickerson, or Hickerson Station. So this is the church, I think. There's a possibility it's the church. I'm going to try to change the camera to get some night capabilities going here. Yeah, that may help a little bit. It was just a small church. There's a cemetery here by it. That was one thing I was going to look up, was the Concord Cemetery, and see if there were any names or information about it in those two books. I haven't done that yet, so I might stop back at the library and check that out. But there's some gravestones there, a little pavilion, and a major part of a cemetery just ahead of me here. I don't know if this will show up or not. Might help if I don't have a mirror in the way. Open field. And then this little church, red brick. There's a few graves out in front of it. I don't know for sure if this is the property, but I talked to a guy here, and he said, I asked him if he knew of a Separatist Baptist church, and I couldn't find one in the phone book. And he said, no, it doesn't ring any bells. And I said, well, and I pulled out the piece of paper and read it where it talked about them being ministers for the Concord Separate Baptist Church. He says, oh, the Concord Baptist Church, I know where that is. He sent me over here to this. So it's just off Highway 55 on the old Manchester Highway. Old Manchester Highway is back along Concord over to here, where it runs in. And this will probably conclude my tour of the area, as it's getting dark and I don't know that I'll have time tomorrow. So, hope that was of some interest to you. One last thing, this is at the Concord Baptist Church. These are the GPS coordinates for it. Hope they show up well enough. If anybody else comes out this way and wants to try to find it, they may be helpful.